The boarding gate buzzed with the usual chaos: tired parents, business travelers glued to phones, and the endless echo of rolling luggage on tile. Amid the rush, a tall black man in a navy suit stood calmly near gate 24, holding a first-class boarding pass between his fingers. His name was Marcus Reed, a man who built his tech empire from scratch, who'd once cleaned airplane floors just to afford night classes. Today, he was flying to New York to close a deal that would change his company's future. But at that moment, none of that mattered. "Sir," said the attendant, forcing a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sorry, but there must be a mistake. First class is reserved for premium travelers." Marcus blinked. "I believe that's me," he replied, showing her the boarding pass again. Her eyes flicked from the ticket to his face, then down to his worn leather carry-on. "You'll need to step aside, sir. We'll get this sorted once our real first-class passengers are boarded." A few people in line turned to look. Some frowned. One woman even whispered, "Unbelievable," though no one said whether it was about him or her. Marcus said nothing. Years of being underestimated had taught him patience, but his silence carried power. He stepped aside, heart steady, face unreadable. Minutes later, the last passenger boarded. The attendant avoided his gaze as she printed a new ticket. "We've upgraded someone else," she said briskly. "You'll have to take a seat in economy for now." Marcus simply nodded. "That's fine," he said quietly, walking down the jet bridge. But as he crossed the threshold of the aircraft, something unusual happened. The captain, standing near the cockpit, stopped mid-sentence. His eyes widened. "Mr. Reed," the pilot said. "Marcus Reed." Marcus looked up, surprised. "Yes." The pilot chuckled awkwardly, suddenly pale. "Ah, sorry, sir, I didn't realize you were." He glanced nervously toward the flight attendant who had just entered behind him, trying to disappear into the galley. Marcus gave a faint smile. "Don't worry about it," he said, moving toward his assigned seat. But the tension in the air was unmistakable. Two passengers nearby had already recognized him, the billionaire founder of Reed Aerospace, the very company that owned the airline they were sitting on. The plane pushed back from the gate. Marcus pulled out his phone, replying to a few messages, when the intercom crackled to life. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We'll be taxiing out shortly. Should be smooth sailing today." Marcus froze. That voice. It was familiar, not from meetings or events, but from something deeper, sharper. He tilted his head slightly, listening. The pilot sounded nervous. Too nervous. Then it clicked. 3 years ago, that same man, Captain Douglas Haynes, had been suspended after a viral incident. A leaked recording captured him calling a black flight attendant a diversity hire and refusing to apologize. Marcus remembered because he'd personally made the call to terminate him from another airline under Reed Aerospace's umbrella. So how was he back in the cockpit? Marcus's jaw tightened. He pressed the call button for the flight attendant. When she arrived, the same woman who'd denied his seat, he kept his voice low, calm. "Could you ask the captain to step out for a moment before takeoff? Tell him Marcus Reed needs a word." The attendant blinked. "Sir, we can't." "Tell him," Marcus repeated, his tone still polite but firm, "that Marcus Reed needs to speak with him. Now." Within 30 seconds, the cockpit door opened. Captain Haynes stepped out, pale as paper. The hum of the plane's engines filled the silence. "Mr. Reed," he said stiffly, "I didn't realize." "I can see that," Marcus said. "Let's talk." They walked to the front of the plane, away from curious ears. The flight attendant stood frozen, unsure whether to intervene. "I thought you were terminated," Marcus said quietly. "I was reinstated after an appeal. Different branch, sir. I needed the job." Marcus studied him. The man looked older, thinner, worn down by regret, or maybe by life itself. He didn't look like a villain. He looked like someone who'd run out of chances. "Does the crew know about your past record?" Marcus asked. "No, sir," the captain said quickly. "I've changed. I swear." Marcus sighed and looked out the window, the ground crew still moving, bags being loaded, unaware that time inside the cabin had frozen. "You humiliated one of my employees," Marcus said. "You made her cry on duty. And now you've allowed your staff to humiliate another passenger, this time me." The captain looked stricken. "I didn't know she." Marcus raised a hand. "You didn't need to. It's not about who I am. It's about how you treat people. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Marcus pulled out his phone, dialed a number, and waited. Control, this is Marcus Reed. I need immediate clearance to ground flight 227 before takeoff. Maintenance inspection required. The captain's face drained of color. Sir, that's unnecessary. I'm not risking safety, Marcus said evenly. Or dignity. The tower confirmed the command within seconds. The engines powered down. The cabin lights flickered as the plane rolled back toward the gate. Passengers groaned, unaware of the storm unfolding just beyond their seats. When the captain returned to the cockpit, Marcus remained at the front, speaking softly to the head attendant, whose eyes now brimmed with tears. I'm so sorry, sir, she whispered. I didn't mean to offend. I know, Marcus said gently. But next time, don't assume. Look beyond the surface. You'll be surprised who's standing in front of you. He handed her his card, Marcus Reed, CEO, Reed Aerospace Group, and smiled faintly. We'll talk after the flight. 15 minutes later, Marcus walked off the grounded plane with quiet authority. The terminal buzzed with speculation. Reporters hadn't caught wind yet, but the flight crew knew exactly what had just happened. By the time Marcus reached the private lounge, his assistant had already arranged another aircraft. The sleek company jet waited just outside. But Marcus wasn't done. Send a message to HR, he told his assistant. Effective immediately, Captain Haynes is relieved of duty. And make sure the attendant, Anna, I believe her name was, gets a leadership training scholarship. She has potential. His assistant nodded, tapping on a tablet. Consider it done. Marcus exhaled deeply, sinking into a chair. For a moment, he thought about the years he'd spent cleaning cabins like that. About the faces that looked past him, the names no one bothered to remember. He'd promised himself that if he ever had power, he'd use it differently. A soft knock broke his thoughts. It was Anna, the attendant. Her eyes were still red, but she stood taller now. I wanted to thank you, she said quietly. I thought you were just another passenger. Marcus smiled. That's the thing about people, Anna. You never really know who they are until you stop long enough to see them. She nodded, swallowing hard. I'll remember that. He looked at her for a moment, then handed her a new boarding pass. You're coming with us. You'll assist the crew on my jet. Consider this your first day of training. Her eyes widened. Me. But you earned it, he said simply. Not for what you did. For how you owned it. As they walked toward the private hangar, Anna glanced back at the airliner being towed away, its passengers waiting, confused, delayed. She realized then that the man she'd dismissed was the reason any of them had planes to fly at all. The company jet lifted smoothly into the evening sky. The city lights glittered beneath them like a scattered constellation. Coffee? Anna asked nervously, tray trembling in her hands. Marcus chuckled. Only if you join me. She hesitated. Sir, sit, he said kindly. Let's talk. As they sipped coffee at 30,000 feet, Marcus told her about the years he'd spent working overnight shifts to pay for flight school. About being rejected from airlines that later begged him to sit on their boards. About the janitor who once gave him a sandwich when he couldn't afford lunch, and how he'd named his foundation after her. Anna listened, tears slipping down her cheeks. I judged you, she whispered. And you still helped me. He smiled. Because I've been you. The world's full of people who think respect is earned by status. It's not. It's given by choice. They sat in silence for a moment as the clouds drifted past. Then Marcus looked out the window, calm, unshaken. Funny thing about flying, he said softly. You can be at 30,000 feet and still feel small, or you can be on the ground and stand taller than anyone. The engines hummed steady, the sky open ahead, and somewhere behind them, a grounded plane sat in the dark, carrying a lesson heavier than any luggage.